Hey kids! Tonight we're going to be continuing with chapter 2 of the book, Oliver Twist. Learning a trade. Mr. Bumble spanked Oliver every day with his cane. The poor boy couldn't wait to get away from the workhouse. One day, Mr. Gamfield, a chimney sweep, was walking by the workhouse. He saw the sign on the wall. "I could teach this boy how to be a chimney sweep," he told Mr. Limpkins. "That's a nasty job," Mr. Limpkins replied. "Young boys can smother in chimneys. You won't let me have him, then? I'll give him to you for £3. It's a good deal. You won't have to spend much to take care of the boy. He's never had much to eat. And if he gives you any trouble, just spank him." So here we can see Mr. Gamfield. At the bottom it says Mr. Gamfield needs a chimney sweep. So here we can see Mr. Gamfield and that he has seen the sign saying that Oliver is being given away for adoption. Mr. Bumble asked the judge to sign papers transferring Oliver to Mr. Gamfield. "You're going to be an apprentice, Oliver," Mr. Bumble explained. "What's that, sir?" "Mr. Gamfield is going to teach you a trade and make a man out of you." Suddenly, the judge saw a look of great fear on Oliver's face and tears in his eyes. "What's the matter?" asked the judge. Oliver got down on his knees, sobbing bitterly. He begged the judge not to give him over to such a mean man as Mr. Gamfield. The judge tore up the papers and ordered Mr. Bumble to return Oliver to the workhouse and treat him better. Mr. Sowerberry, the undertaker, was the next man to read the sign on the workhouse. "I can use somebody to help me in my business of burying dead people," he thought. So, here it says Oliver begs the judge. Here we can see Oliver, that he is on his knees, crying, and this is the judge looking very serious and thinking about if he should sign the papers or not. So Mr. Sowerberry called upon Mr. Bumble. "Would you like to have the boy?" asked Mr. Bumble. "For £5, he's yours." Oliver gathered up his belongings, which were so few in number that they all fitted into one small paper bag. Then he went with Mr. Bumble to the undertaker's house. He cried all the way over there. "What's wrong with you, boy?" snapped Mr. Bumble. "You should be glad that the undertaker is giving you a home." "I'm sorry, sir," mumbled Oliver, "but I'm so lonely. No one likes me. Please don't be mean to me." Mrs. Sowerberry, a short, plump woman with a wrinkled face, opened the door. "He's so small," she said, looking at Oliver. "He looks like a bag of bones." The undertaker's wife took Oliver into a cold kitchen. "Charlotte," she ordered the maid, "give this boy some of the cold meat that was put out for the dog." This is Mrs. Sowerberry, and this is Mr. Sowerberry, and this is Oliver crying. And this bag are all his belongings, and here is the coat. He looks like a bag of bones. And here in the picture, we can see that Mr. Sowerberry and Mrs. Sowerberry are not very happy. They look a little angry at Oliver. Anyone could have seen the half-starved boy clutch at the strip of leftover meat. Would have been horrified. When Oliver had finished, Mrs. Sowerberry came for him. "Come to your bed," she said. "It's under the counter among the coffins. Hurry along." Oliver's new room was even more lonely and frightening than the one at the workhouse. All around him were coffins, waiting for dead bodies to fill them. There were also wooden boards to build more coffins. Oliver slept on a hard mattress. The room was very dark and hot. In the morning, someone kicked at the door. "Do you need a coffin, sir?" Oliver asked. "Shut up," said a young man as he entered. "I'm Noah Claypole, and you'll be working under me." Noah was a charity boy, but not a workhouse orphan. He knew who his parents were, but they were too poor to take care of him. So here we can see Oliver holding up a candle, and it's lit up, and we can see that he's sad and scared, and we can see all of the coffins and the boards. And here it says, "Unlonely, frightening place to sleep." Mr. Sowerberry showed Oliver what undertakers do. One day, they went to the house of a woman who had just died. Her husband and children stood crying over the body. Mr. Sowerberry brought a coffin, and he and Noah carried the body to the churchyard and buried it. They asked Oliver if he would like to be an undertaker. "No," replied the boy firmly. "Well, you'll get used to it," said Mr. Sowerberry. "You'll have to." Oliver was badly treated by Mrs. Sowerberry and Charlotte, but especially by Noah. One day, Noah insulted Oliver's dead mother. The little boy, who looked too weak to swat a fly, grabbed Noah by the throat and shook him violently. Then he hurled him to the ground with a fierce blow. "Oliver's going to kill me!" cried Noah. Here we can see Oliver, that he is about to punch Noah, and at the bottom it says, "Oliver hurls Noah to the ground." "Help me, Charlotte! Help me, Mrs. Sowerberry! Get him off me!" The two women dragged Oliver into the cold, dark cellar and locked the door. "Go get Mr. Bumble," Mrs. Sowerberry told Noah. "Tell him what Oliver did." "Mr. Bumble!" cried Noah upon reaching the workhouse. "Come quickly." "Oliver ran away?" asked Mr. Bumble. "No, sir, but he tried to kill me." "I knew that boy would come to no good." "Noah called my mother bad names," Oliver explained to Mr. Bumble when he reached the undertaker's house. "She deserved it," said Noah. "That's a lie," snapped the boy. Mr. Sowerberry spanked Oliver and shut him in his room with nothing but a stale piece of bread. When the boy was alone, he let the tears fall. Later, in the middle of the night, he slipped softly out of the house forever, dragging Oliver off Noah. That is what it says on the bottom. And here we can see Mrs. Sowerberry and Charlotte pulling Oliver off Noah. And that is the end of chapter 2. I hope you guys enjoyed chapter 2. I will see you next time for chapter 3. Thank you and good night.